In July 2021, a Dallas radio host asked Governor Greg Abbott if he was fed up with constantly being measured against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. "I know you guys are compadres in many ways," the host, Mark Davis, said to Abbott, "but have you had it up to your eyeballs with being compared?" Abbott dismissed the notion there was any tension between him and the then-rising star in the GOP. "DeSantis and I do a lot of things together," he said, while adding that Texas had beat Florida to the punch in passing permitless carry for handguns and a ban on abortions after roughly 6 weeks gestation. "We talk in ways and times that people have no idea about, and so I just kind of roll my eyes and scoff a little bit when people say these things." Over a year and a half later, the comparisons have only intensified as speculation mounts about whether the two governors of the most populous Republican-controlled states will jump into the 2024 presidential race. But those comparisons don't exactly cast them in an equal light. Even in his own state, Abbott is overshadowed by DeSantis as more Texas Republicans are energized by the possibility of a presidential run by the Florida governor. DeSantis has also become the de facto conservative measuring stick that Abbott's GOP critics use to highlight the Texas governor's perceived shortcomings. That's despite a number of similarities in the priorities and policies pushed by the two governors in recent years. DeSantis and Abbott often appear to be locked in an unspoken ideological arms race, seemingly competing for the title of the nation's most conservative governor, as they take turns leading and then following one another, enacting policies and backing bills that push both states further to the right. Among the areas where the two have echoed each other, reopening businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic, restricting abortion, expanding gun access, transporting migrants to blue cities, cracking down on diversity policies in K-12 and higher education, and supporting bans on the Chinese government and its citizens from purchasing state land. On paper, Abbott and DeSantis have a lot in common. Both scored high-profile re-election wins in November while Republicans underperformed elsewhere. And both are fundraising juggernauts who have raked in a number of seven-figure donations for their respective gubernatorial races. In Texas, where money has long dominated politics, Greg Abbott is in a league of his own. And yet, despite being a mainstay on Fox News, Abbott doesn't match the popularity or the national profile that DeSantis has garnered within his party. You look at Abbott and say, sure, he brings the conservative credentials, but he's not seen like the fighter that Donald Trump is or DeSantis is becoming, said Brian Smith, a political science professor at St. Edward's University in Austin. Luke Macias, a conservative political consultant in Texas who is often critical of Abbott, said it's about more than just policy. It's about leadership. Abbott's posture in the culture war is much more akin to the old guard establishment wing of the GOP, Macias said. DeSantis acknowledges the culture war and publicly talks about the need to take on the left. Abbott's more passive style was seen in the abortion and gun bills of 2021 that he now touts as conservative wins, Macias noted. While activists had been agitating for a heartbeat bill to restrict abortion and constitutional carry to loosen gun laws for years, Abbott did not openly back the legislation until it was clear they were advancing at the Capitol that session. He later signed both bills into law. If there is a rivalry, though, it's one-sided, with Florida Republicans professing little interest in Abbott's maneuvering. While polls show Texas Republicans prefer DeSantis overwhelmingly as their top alternative to former President Donald Trump for 2024, Abbott is so far hardly a blip in polling anywhere. For now, DeSantis is considered far more likely, and formidable, a presidential contender. A Fox News poll released Sunday found Trump getting 43% in the 2024 primary, while DeSantis behind him with 28% and Abbott much farther back, with 2%. Evan Power, vice chair of the Republican Party of Florida, said Florida does not see Texas as a rival in our freedom or where we are legislatively anymore. Not to be disrespectful to Governor Abbott, but I don't think there are many people in the DeSantis orbit who consider that to be a rivalry, said Brian Ballard, a veteran Florida lobbyist who co-chaired DeSantis' inauguration. Around the Florida Capitol in Tallahassee, Ballard added, "I never have anyone say to me, 'Did DeSantis get that from Governor Abbott? Did you see what Governor Abbott did in Texas?'" In a recent interview with the Texas Tribune, Abbott again shrugged off the notion he is competing with DeSantis. "The reality is we really just focus on Texas and working for our constituents here in our state," Abbott said. DeSantis will make his most anticipated trip to Texas yet this weekend, when he is set to visit Houston and Dallas to headline annual fundraising dinners for the county GOPs in each city. It is part of an increase in his out-of-state travel, along with a book released Tuesday, that is only further stoking speculation he is gearing up to run for president. Harris County GOP Chair Cindy Siegel announced DeSantis' appearance in a statement that was careful to treat the two states as peers rather than rivals. Alongside Texas, she said, "Florida is one of the nation's most prosperous and free states thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis' leadership." Twin issues. The comparisons between Abbott and DeSantis have arisen on a vast range of policy issues, but they started in earnest amid the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Abbott's pandemic management became a top issue in his Republican primary for re-election in the spring of 2021, with challengers like Don Huffines assailing Abbott over business shutdowns on his watch. Huffines regularly pitted Abbott against DeSantis, saying at one point that Abbott was following that lying, fraudulent Dr. Anthony Fauci for over 9 months, while DeSantis was basically running the country.